Thank you so much for this kind introduction and for having me here. Over the next few minutes, actually, I would like to use Internet and Society Studies, my field, as an example to address one challenge, one opportunity, and a vision for academia in this changing landscape of knowledge and information. So let's turn first to the challenge. It's a commonplace today that the internet has fundamentally changed the way we create information and knowledge, how we share it, how we access it, and how we use it. The disruptive effects of these tectonic shifts are still ongoing when we look at traditional knowledge institutions, such as encyclopedias, such as libraries, and even such as formal institutions of education like schools. That's actually my primary school in Switzerland. Now, these tectonic shifts, these changes in the information and knowledge environment are well documented and well understood. I refer to two wonderful books, one by Professor Joachim Benkler, The Wealth of Networks, and one by our colleague David Weinberger, Too Big to Know, highly recommended readings. In fact, many of us have celebrated these tectonic shifts as a sort of democratization of information production and dissemination, and had hoped for some sort of a semiotic democracy emerging from it. Increasingly, however, we also see complicating factors. We see actually challenges emerging in this digitally networked environment. The first one is that we see we continue to see huge differences where actually information is created and where is it hosted. So here you see a wonderful map produced by our colleagues at the Oxford Internet Institute showing the geotags of Wikipedia articles. And you see that the home of these Wikipedia articles are heavily biased towards North America and Europe. So it's not that the world would be equally represented even in this kind of more democratic system of information production. Arguably, even more troublesome are the new digitally enabled biases when it comes to knowledge and how we perceive the world. Here is a look through the lens of a search engine algorithm that auto-completes words if you type in here, why is country X so poor or rich? So that gives you a sense of the impact of algorithms on how we perceive the world. Speaking of algorithms, many of you may have followed actually last week's story about the Facebook newsfeed. And I think we're only at the beginning to slowly understand the impact of algorithms of these black boxes to the non-computer scientists among us on how they shape the ways we look at the world. Now, these challenges are important, and manipulation is one of the main concerns here. But there, I would argue, there is even a deeper layered structural problem happening as we enter the age of big data. And that is that the source of knowledge and the nature of knowledge itself is changing. And so are actually the players who distract insights from big data. Here's just an overview, a map of the big data players, and you don't see many universities on here. So as a matter of fact, in many research areas, the most valuable data is no longer even available to academic researchers, which creates all sorts of problems regarding quality, transparency, and accountability. These trends together, these trends regarding knowledge creation and representation are worrisome in a world where we as individuals, but also of course as a society, so heavily rely on these new digital ecosystems and players and intermediaries as we make decisions. This is a brilliant article foreshadowing in 2014, actually, some of the concerns that we read now today in the newspaper about Facebook's newsfeed by Professor Citrain. It's against this backdrop, however, that I also believe and see an enormous opportunity, well, I would argue even a responsibility for an enhanced role of academia in the digital age. It's not despite, but I would argue because of the digital knowledge revolution that academic institutions like our own have the opportunity to play a key role for preserving unbiased knowledge, to create and open up spaces for new explorations in the spirit of traditional academic values of objectivity and rigor. This requires a lot of resources for sure, and it needs the best people. But I argue it also needs a new academic culture that fosters collaboration across disciplines, across geographies, across campuses, across private and public actors. Over the past 15 years, over at the Berkman Center, and Charlie Nessen, the founder, sits right here, we have experimented with some sort of a new DNA, if you will, for Academia 3.0, how that could look like. One of the core elements of this DNA is a very diverse community of fellows, associates, and affiliates, several of them in the room, hi guys, working with us together on the most pressing and most challenging problems of our digital age. And the Berkman DNA has started to spread, to replicate. Our faculty and staff, our community have incubated new centers around the world. We have incubated global networks such as Digitally Connected, actually led by Sandra Cortez, who sits there, a collaboration with UNICEF that brings together researchers, activists, and leaders who want and are committed to improve the state of the world for children. These community efforts, I could add many more, are somehow the human backbone of a more institutional network we've incubated, the global network of centers, which now brings together over 70 internet and society centers around the world. And here now I'm turning to the vision part of the talk. At the broadest level, the ambition of this network of centers, NOC in short, is to create a global knowledge infrastructure for the internet-based society, which can inform global policymaking and decision-making. This includes, of course, research, and we have been involved in highly networked and collaborative initial pilot projects, how to do research on a global scale on pressing issues that have to do with the digital society and be relevant to decision makers. I have just two prototypes here for the illustration of this point. But the network is intended to be more than just a mere research network. The network also seeks to build, to educate, to convene, and facilitate. Consider, for instance, the recently incubated Digital Asia Hub, which is part of this network and grew out actually of this global network, which is a think tank based in Hong Kong that brings together academic, civil society, and private sector partners who together work on Asia's digital future and try to improve it. The last part of this network, and I think ultimately the most important part, is its educational role or the vision that we have such a network could play. The idea being that all the participating academic institutions could contribute from their particular perspective, teaching modules, components of curriculums to a global internet and society curriculum, so that every student, every person, every journalist who wants to learn about the internet, its evolution, its differences and similarities around the world could visit that online curriculum. Professor Fisher's Copyright X curriculum, in my way, and model could serve as a source of inspiration for this, and shows, in my opinion, how academia in the digital age can create new spaces for learning and open and respectful dialogue. Thank you.